think I've gone early. Let's go back to the intro music. Well, we've got a bug in the system by the looks of it.
Live soon.
Live soon. Live straight now. I'm going to go right back to the intro music. That was a interesting bug. I need to feed back to the developers. Oh, it's completely broken. Well, let's just go then, shall we? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to AATV Live. We've just found a bug in the eCam live streaming software. Welcome to my birthday drinks. I'm 44 years old. That is quite old, I think, right now. So today we're going to talk about... main topic of conversation will probably be the MOA exhibition in Taiwan. A few new interesting products coming out of there. And then we'll go on to some viewer questions. As ever, I'm in the garden room, so we may get some distractions like crows landing on the roof. They always sound like there's like a B-52 landing or something along those lines. Since we've kind of aborted our intro run, we'll go straight to introducing the guests. My cronies, as ever, Gadget and Ben. Oh, man. Do you know what I forgot to do, guys? I forgot to change the titles over.
I'm Gadget tonight. Yes.
Man, this is not... You can tell I'm feeling a bit jaded and rusty. We've had some festivities for the birthdays. There we go. Look, that's better. Look, you're actually yourselves now.
Awesome. I quite like being Ben. I always feel a bit more achieved.
Do you feel like you've leveled up?
Yeah, totally. Become a famous person.
Oh, everyone's saying hello. Thank you very much, everybody. Man, what is going on?
People already.
The software.
Already.
I appear to have broken everything tonight.
Hey, we're back.
I don't know what is
going on. Again.
Literally do not know what is going on. Sorry, guys. I'm normally... I think I'm going to leave you as Ben and Gadge. I think we're just. I'm
happy with that.
I'm going to get really confused as the stream goes on. So sorry about the technical difficulties. I pressed a button and it's completely messed up the live streaming software. So I'm going to have to do a bug report at the end of this because it's all going completely crazy. I'm not going to touch a thing. I just want it to run now.
So worse things have happened at sea.
So I'm going to refer to you by your actual names, but I'm going to get really confused because I'm staring at your wrong names. So, Gadge, what the first question? What's in your cup tonight, sir?
Okay, I've leveled up a bit from last time. I'm drinking Brewdog's Hazy Jane, which is nice and sort of like a peach kind of hazy, hoppy kind of tasting beer, which is good out the can and good out the bottle. So that's mine.
Nice. I have gone for one of my perennial favourites. Brooklyn Lager, which is pretty standard, but I do like a few cans of Brooklyn Lager and they're nice and cold. So I'm going to open one now.
Oh,
that was TV advert quality.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I'm on the Vocation Heart and Soul tonight,
Lovely.
Which is a really nice session IPA. And I got some spares in the fridge, so we should be all right. So what if
get under table fridges next year?
I know I need a little one.
That's a good plan.
But there's actually like sewing machines and stuff down there because I shared this space with my partner. So this is used to be her sewing room, and I sort of
hijacked
it. you laid siege to it with all of your guns, didn't you?
I actually resisted really, really hard for like 2 years, and then eventually I gave in. It just got silly. Let's not talk about how many guns are in the house. Well, replicas, airsoft replicas, everybody. So, Gadge, what have you been up to this week? Not in airsoft, though. I know you have been doing some airsoft stuff.
Well, it's a bit tricky, Tom, because my day job is airsoft, so so it's really hard to get away from it, really. So what have I done this week? A lot of dog walking when I'm taking my lunch hours, but I've been really bricking myself by putting some paint on an £800, £900 replica, which was terrifying, to be honest.
Yep.
So, as some of you may know, the last year I've been building an L119A1 UKSF rifle. And it looks all right in black, but I kind of want it to look a bit more tactical, give it a paint job. So I bought some really good paint, did a few test pieces on an old boneyard gun, then bit the bullet, gave it a spray the other day, but it is absolutely terrifying putting that first across a really expensive riff, you know.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we've been exchanging tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Ben, have you been up to any sort of hobby-related activity?
I've been doing a bit of Warhammer and doing quite a lot of window shopping of Airsoft stuff. I did snag myself a Black Friday bargain before Black Friday as well, and bought myself a new chest rig, which should be arriving later this week. We might actually get to use it the weekend as well, so I'm quite looking forward to. So yeah, it's been a fairly quiet week, but it's been more eventful than some weeks that have passed recently. Because the world's been pretty boring around here, hasn't it?
I mean, I work from I know you guys sometimes work from home as well. I am kind of largely losing any sort of track as to what day is what at the moment. I keep getting really confused.
What year is it?
I want it to be 2021. Richard
I've
Nelson
got
says
the calendar from tomorrow.
I just hope it will be different.
Richard Nelson says it's software, not the beer. No, it's definitely the software.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to stress too much, so don't push it.
I'm going to keep track of days tomorrow because I've got my advent calendar, and Ben reckoned my beer calendar would never survive till now, but it has. So
hats off.
I'm going to track it.
You've done it.
Track each day with a pint.
We've built up a few people then, haven't we?
Yeah, we're getting up to about 35 people now. Thanks very much for joining us. So let's do some channel admin while we're here. So remember, I have a t-shirt range. I'm actually wearing one of them at the moment. This is my this is going to be how am I going to do this? This is my Randy Last Mag t-shirt from the eponymous film. Available
elegant
on very all done by me, and that available on the Teespring store. There should be a link in the description. There's also a few others. We also have a Patreon campaign running to help the channel stay as independent as possible, so we can do stuff like this for you guys, because this cost of this sort of stuff does add up. It'd be great if you can help us. If you can't, just a like, a subscribe, and most importantly, a share. It'd be really highly appreciated. So let's get on to our main topic for tonight, which is the MOA exhibition in Taiwan, which just finished. It was just a 3-day exhibition. Friday was trade. Saturday, Sunday was open to the public. Did you guys see anything about it? That'd be a no.
Go on.
Go on. Yeah, it did actually. To be honest, trade shows always make me come out in a bit of a cold sweat, because I'm normally at the other end of them and I hate them. But I did enjoy seeing the gas blowback foul. FN foul, mainly because that makes me think it will one day be a SLR rather than a foul.
Okay.
With what I call proper specs. So
we'll go into that in a bit more detail in a minute. Ben, does anything catch your eye, or do you know much about the exhibition at all?
Yeah, I saw a few bits. There's some good content going up online, but much like Gadge, because of our day jobs, I've done a lot of trade shows, and they do kind of send a chill down my spine when you look at them. And I think you can kind of contract trade show fatigue just by looking at pictures of them. They're hard work when you have to work them. I think they're hard work when you go to them as a punter, but when you have to work them, they're even harder. But I spotted a few things. There's some gas powered stuff. There's quite a lot of fancy things coming out in the gas powered world, and looks like some nice stuff's coming. I was hoping to see a little bit more of that GHK / Humorex Glock 17. But didn't see much of it.
Apparently GHK weren't there at all.
They can be excused, I guess.
Which was a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the VFC stuff first. So let me try and grab a picture. Stu's been great, our friend Stu. He's put over a few things. So this is on screen now for you guys. This is the HK PSG-1. Something that used to be about 5 meters long and made of plastic.
Yeah, it gives me Marui flashbacks. That does.
I think we've all, if you've been around a while, you remember that. It looked amazing, but it was like literally 5 feet long.
Pony, wasn't it?
Yeah, and just kind of vaguely wobbled, and had a completely mad, unique kind of mechanical MOSFET single shot trigger gearbox, which was just insane as well.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be a gas blowback, which should be super cool.
Interesting. Be an interesting one. I don't know if anybody was really waiting for that much though, were they?
It's a bit of a niche gun, isn't it? It's like, I think it's great if you like Metal Gear Solid in the late 90s, but
Yeah. No, they always come out with an odd one. And, you know, I don't think anybody was sort of constantly refreshing their web browser waiting for a gas blowback PSG1 to come out.
No, it was one of the bit slightly out of left field, but I'm glad someone's done it. See if,
to be fair, we always moan that it's all M4, another M4, so we should be actually celebrating something.
It's true, and then when someone brings out something that's not an M4, everyone's like, "Oh, why did you bring that out?"
Did not VFC do the G3 a while ago as well?
I think they did. Someone in the
It's a lot of similar. It's a lot of similar parts, though, isn't it? So
I think the receiver's pretty much the same.
Yeah,
and then there's some bits and bobs. I think. Saying that, I think some people are quite excited in the comments. Angelo would love to get his hands on it. I think it's a really interesting one. It's kind of got that Counter-Strike, old school Counter-Strike vibe to it as well.
I think that there's definitely a bit of an old school resurgence going on at the moment as well, isn't there? With more MP5s and things like that popping up than I've seen in a long time. So it'll probably be quite
usually
popular.
the preserved LCT, isn't it? If someone's going to do something retro, it's usually those guys. So it's interesting to see UFC doing it. You know?
Now Stu is not a small man, so I think you can appreciate the size of this thing. It is big.
It's a lengthy one.
And then the one I think most people are probably most excited about. They're calling it the LAR, the GBBR. It's the FN Foul. So not.
They probably don't have a Herstal license, do they?
Yeah, exactly. So this is the first GBBR Foul in the world. That's certainly what their marketing material says. And it's meant to be a really early model. So basically, it's almost the kind of one of the first production models of the Foul.
I think it's amazing. I do question the use of Rhodesia as a marketing ploy. It's not the most politically correct of wars to sort of launch a new gun on, but fair enough.
I know, but
we all just enjoy it for what it is.
Just enjoy it. Someone's done a gas blowback Foul, and I think there's a lot of very excited people about that.
I imagine the parts compatibility with real steel stuff will be pretty high on that as well.
VFC are normally quite good for that, aren't they?
Yeah, well,
it's actually quite easy to get Foul parts as well.
So I say that again, Gage.
It's actually relatively easy to get Foul parts. I used to have an AEG SLR and Foul that basically had a lot of real steel parts on it.
Oh, okay. So you can kind of
things like handguards, stocks, that sort of stuff. You want to put wood furniture on it or whatever, which some Fouls have. Easy to do.
Trying to find some more pictures of it.
Be good.
It's going to hit. It's not an L1A1, so some of the Cold War Brits may have to wait a bit, or maybe bodge some actual inch pattern parts onto it.
I think for Cold War games, no one will care for the first year or two till they actually do an A1.
It goes clang, clang, clang. They'll be mad if they don't do it.
No, it's
to be honest, I think an A1 would probably work better because it'd be single shot, so you won't have to worry about having that gas cool down, you know.
Would anybody use it on full auto though?
Yeah.
Do you reckon? Just very briefly.
Well, it's got a 20 round mag, so it's going to have a big gas capacity.
I bet it'll look and feel great.
Angelo's getting quite excited. Angelo, I think you're going to be poor next year, aren't you?
I know a lot of people aren't particularly convinced with VFC as gas guns, but
their internals don't have particularly great. I just want to carry it around, to be quite honest. So that's probably
I think part of the fun with them is how tactile. You know, the MP5s that they did a while back. It was like it doesn't even really matter if it shoots. To be honest, I'm happy enough just playing with it, touching it.
I was a bit like that with my SEMA M16A1. I was kind of like, as long as the silhouette was correct, I was quite happy with it. So I think I'm personally a lot more excited about the LAR Foul than I am about the PSG1. I will almost certainly get a Foul, and maybe if you guys are really lucky, I'll get some shorts as well.
It's got a bit more relevance, hasn't it? Really to the UK and to the stuff that's going on at the moment, and loadouts in general and things like that. I feel like it's probably just a slightly more relatable piece of kit, slightly more iconic.
It's also it's in COD, isn't it? It's in both. Is it in both the COD? It might well be both in. I can't remember if it's in Black Ops and in Modern Warfare. So it's, even with the people that don't really have an appreciation for the right arm of the free world or God's own bang stick, or it's it's a good gun in a modern computer game. So it's going to be popular. It's going to be expensive, but it's going to be popular.
No, I mean, I can't see where the PSG one's really going to compete in that realm, to be honest. I think I only know one guy that's particularly fanatical about PSG ones, and that's Jez Armstrong, and he's weird anyway. So
apparently Ancho's buying one, so I think we're all good there. The next one
so one then.
The next one they were talking about doing, it's a bit more conventional, but going to be quite cool. So this is a gas blowback M110K, so the short version of the US sniper system. So basically it's a modern SR25.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. So that's got you going, Ben, is it?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. As we were talking the other day about kind of recent history sort of stuff that's just happened long enough now to kind of be historic, but also not so long ago that nobody remembers it. But that's definitely a cool piece of kit. Again, it's not even like the sort of thing that you care if it even works properly, but it feels great to play around with.
Well, I imagine it'll be DMR. You're not going to fire very much with it, as long as you get some shots out of it. I've just got an electric SR25-ish DMR, which I'm hopefully going to play with as soon as I can. So, and I've really kind of enjoyed that great big GNU. This is significantly smaller, but it's still a 7.62 receiver. It's still a DMR. So that looks really cool. Larry Vickers, Uncle Larry, as we call him, is doing a really actually underviewed podcast series at the moment. I'll put a link in on the Facebook group. And he talks about the history of the SR25, and obviously he was a Delta assaulter in the 80s and 90s. So he did a fair bit of weapons development, and some really in-depth stuff he's doing at the moment in a podcast, not on his normal channel. And he talks about the history of SR25. Really, really, really interesting. If you're into that kind of stuff, it was a really interesting chat. I'm listening to it today, and I kind of really enjoyed it.
They're more than just a 7.62 or AR, aren't they? There's a lot more to it than just bigger in it and being off with it.
Well, he was talking about the process they went through with Delta, or the unit as he calls it, and how they went back and forward to Knights all the time, making little tweaks here and little tweaks there and little tweaks there. It's and they worked really, really hand in hand with the unit. They were changing barrels, changing handguards, changing everything. It went through a massive iteration process, because what people don't appreciate with the M16 or M4 is it's been through 60 years of development now. That's a long time. But it's an old gun. It's one of the oldest surface weapons in history now, which is a bit crazy. Jamie Penny asked, did I spy an HKMG4? You not quite. What they're going to do, and I will whack it on screen, is this, which is the Mark 48. So this is an AEG. So this is it's like the Maximi, isn't it? It's the 7.62 version of the Mini-Me that SOCOM use.
That is pretty cool. I've not even seen that up until now, but I always did want a Mark 48.
Well, there you go.
They're pretty cool. That's the modern one as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the kind of current spec one. It's got the fibre stock on it and stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty much bang up to date. Yeah. It's going to have you're going to be skint as well. It's got a 1,000-round internal magazine as well.
Nice.
And then
it's power stock on that.
And then an external 5,000-round box.
So you could run it with a fake belt on. That'd be great.
Yeah, exactly. You can run it with the belt on.
Lovely. I think that's one thing lacking on a lot of LMGs, MMGs, is you've got to put boxes on them, even if historically they didn't have them. It can look really weird.
Yeah.
And that'd be lovely if it's got an internal mag.
So yeah, 1,000-round internal mag.
That can take 6,000 BBs on board.
Yep.
Two full bottles.
2 full bottles.
That's more BBs than I use in probably 6 months of gaming.
I'm not sure. I certainly haven't fired 6,000 this year. Well, maybe on the range, but certainly not in gaming.
No. That's mad.
So that's going to be pretty cool. something I missed actually. Apparently, there's going to be 2 versions of the Foul. There's going to be a lightweight one and a steel one. So there's going to be like a super duper version made of steel.
And then a Wimps one.
I'm glad you said it.
Why would you want the light one when there's a steel one? Well, I suppose if there's a price difference, but
It's I don't know. Big
Gamers and weight though, isn't it?
Well, why do people get into realistic airsoft guns and then run around with like tiny little firehawks?
Let's not go down that rabbit hole yet.
Yeah, we'll never get back out of that again.
I've got to get in
a couple of these beers in me.
I've got to get it in the first 20 minutes. People expect it of me. If you like that, I also have a make replicas realistic again T-shirt, also available on the Teespring store.
Good plug, solid plug.
Solid.
It's your birthday. We'll let you off
segue
that
into a plug. So that was largely VFC's offering. What do you think about that? I mean, some of those are pretty left field. I think we knew about the Foul and the Mark 48 kind of going in, but certainly I think the other two were pretty much straight out of nowhere. Though the M110 is a variation of something they already have in their kind of product catalogue. I think there's some solid ones that I'm definitely going to get the Foul. I mean, the Foul is that's it done. You know.
As I said, I think it's nice to see things that are actually a bit diverse, and it might not all be for me. So I think the LMG, I probably wouldn't use it because I can't carry things that heavy these days on my back. The PSG one's nice. It's got a bit of a classic line. The Foul to me is more interesting over what it might lead to. So I think it will lead to an L1A1. And the sort of DMR, not really that excited about it, but I think it's a nice replica. It's just not my thing.
Ben,
it's a bit of an odd one because
sorry, Ben.
Go on.
Final thoughts on the VFC. Now go.
No, sorry, mate. I was going to say we're not going to really see them lighting up skirmish fields across the country, are we? Because they're not really skirmish guns. I think people are going to.
No, none of them
are probably going to be not cheap. Really use them that much. Yeah, or they're probably going to make a PTW look cheap. Maybe the Mark 48 is probably the more common one. It's just interesting to see that people have now got a bit more ballsy about making expensive guns support weapons. Now, Marui just took the plunge and made that Mark 46.
It's true, they opened up that market. Now, I've no idea how many Marui sold.
You know what? Here you go. Here's an £1,800 support gun. You'll buy it, won't you? And now everybody's gone, oh, okay, fair enough. They've opened that door for us. Maybe we'll jump in behind it and see what's going on. But, I think there'll probably be a lot of people regretting buying their vibrating TM 249 that perhaps isn't that robust. And they may have enjoyed having like a steel kind of setup.
They are built really. I've had a bit of a play with one. They are built really well. The TM.
Yeah, I will be honest. I've not seen one, so I'm going purely on my experiences.
They're built
gun.
They're built like tanks. They're really nicely big, massive aluminium. They're not steel, but there's big, massive aluminium extrusions, and they're made really. So it's a real step up from Marui actually. So it's interesting to see where they're going to go with that. Not that I'm a massive Marui fanboy, but it's there's certainly some new manufacturing techniques and technologies in there. There's MOSFETs in it, for instance. There's a whole electronic control system in the recoil. So we'll see, really. I mean, now the other news, which we kind of Archwick, who've been doing some really interesting stuff recently. They kind of almost come out of nowhere as a manufacturing partner. Popped up with a photo which kind of broke the UKSF community. Which
I knew it was worth waiting.
Exactly. So some people's reactions were kind of like, oh my God, that's just invalidated my 6-month journey and investment. And some people were like, that's really cool. So, of course, when I find a photo, I'll whack it up. And that is the Archwick L119A2, which is
nice.
Which is, we've been talking for a while, is why isn't someone not making a UKSF or SAS rifle? Because no one does one until now.
It seems like a real no-brainer, doesn't it? Just make it. Do you have to have trades on it? Just make it the right silhouette. Call it the SAS M4. You'd sell thousands.
Yeah. Now Archwick are going full in. So this is now they now have licensing agreed with Cybergun and Colt. So it's going to have full DeMarco legal license trades on it. It should be pretty damn accurate. I think some of the real spotters on the UKSF communities have spotted a few inconsistencies, but I know they've been talking to Archwick about it. So it's not like they're obviously. I think they want it to be a success as well.
Well, that's impressive in its own right, Tom. The fact that the manufacturers are listening to the end user and taking the feedback on. A lot of manufacturers don't care.
Well, they got a tiny bit of a not roasting, but they got a bit of they got loads of questions being asked. But they then joined the UKSF Facebook communities and started answering questions. It was really good to see, actually.
It's cool. It's actually very easy to sort out the details if you talk to the right people, isn't it? This Archwick company, we know pretty much empirically that they've been dealing with quite a lot of other manufacturing processes recently, and taking guns that don't exist in a replica format and making them. And it must be really quite difficult to get the details right on so many different projects, because it can take months, it can take 6 months or so before you actually get knowledgeable enough about the whole thing to understand what the details are and things like that. So it's great that they've actually come to a sort of a hotbed of knowledge about that particular gun to be able to get the details crossed off.
And it's not an easy
hit up the right people.
It's not an easy manufacturing task, because as if you've seen some of my episodes and some other stuff, the upper receiver on the L119A2 is monolithic. So there is no separate handguard and upper receiver. Yeah. It's on monolithic. So no matter how you do it, it's going to be an expensive build to make it. And this is truly monolithic. They've not mucked around. This is a monolith. So the whole thing will be CNC machined, which is, if you think about it, is a big old lump of aluminium and a lot of machining processes.
Yeah, that's like
that was always the problem, wasn't it? Making your own
slab, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, before you had to really put the crap out of them, didn't you, to make them look even vaguely convincing?
Yep. If you want to see how to do that, there's an episode on the channel set to some lovely music, and I merely put the crap out of my
Sorry, Tom, I didn't mean to be rude.
L119A2. Well, I think it's an interesting discussion. Interesting discussion, because some people have been quite upset. Not upset, but a bit like, oh my god, I spent loads of time, money, and effort to do mine, and now someone's come along and done it for us.
But they're not going to be cheap, are they? They're going to be like $1,000 at least.
They're going to be. They reckon at least $1,200.
There you go. So a direct translation to pounds when it gets here.
Yeah. So you could build one to a really high standard yourself for cheaper. You could build one to a decent standard for a lot cheaper. You won't get a monolithic upper, but you can get one with silhouette. Well, we talked about that earlier. You can get one with a silhouette which looks correct for a lot cheaper, depending on what the base gun is. If you don't go for a GHK or a TM recoil, you can do one with the right silhouette for probably under £500 without too much trouble. So this is your high end user, really committed.
I mean, if you're going to get angry about somebody making the replica, just wait until you buy one of those ones, and then the SAS emerge having picked a whole new gun within the next couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Do you know something? Ben?
No. No.
Internally, it's a GHK, which is an interesting choice, and that's the first version. So the first versions coming, I believe, are going to be complete GHK done, just sorted, everything sorted, trades, unique serial number, everything done for you. But it's going to they reckon $1,200, $1,400 depending on. So it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah, but if you think about, like, again, someone asked why I had an AR behind me. That's actually my L119A1 build, and that has cost me. So it's a £400 Murray recoil, £120 low receiver, £90 flash suppressor, extra, probably about £900 to £1,000 in total. And if someone said to me, you can get it off the shelf for that, I'd just take it.
Angelo's trying to bait me.
There is an obsession with having a monolithic upper over an Angry Gun quad rail kit, sorry. And I have it. If you want, I can lecture you about it for the next hour and a half.
Because we've talked about this, and you really want a monolithic upper, and you've always wanted a monolithic upper. I totally understand.
It's like in. Go on.
I'm in two minds.
Go on, Tom.
I'm in two minds as to whether I probably won't replace mine. I'm quite happy with mine, and I'm quite happy with the amount of work that I put into it. I don't think my craft, let's be poncy, hasn't been invalidated by someone else coming out with a complete solution. I think it's great. I think it just gives them just more options. And as I say, you could build a cheap silhouette looking one. Won't be cheap, but it's going to be a lot cheaper than $1,400.
But you enjoyed the journey, and to a degree I have. But I haven't had the tech skills that you've got to do it. So there have been bits of my build I'm about to say to you or to Ben, can you give me a hand with this? Because I'm totally lost for rebuilding like this part or whatever, you know?
Yeah, and if you're dealing with gas guns, it's even bit more. It can be even a bit more of a nightmare. So it's great. I think it's great. I'm really pleased. They have also, so there's been some further discussions. They are probably going to do a Marui version, whether that'll be a body kit or a complete. Don't know. I might get one of those.
It's that window shopping I was talking about earlier on.
And they might do model. They might at some point do the uppers, which again might be an option. But that is the expense. That is the expensive bit. Because I think they're going to
talking about putting effort in to create something that looked about right. It was only due to sheer laziness. I mean, I remember when the A2 first kind of fell into the public eye, and we're actually having conversations about cutting down knockoff URX style rails with a bandsaw to cut them to roughly the right length and filling in a certain bit. And if you got that bit and grafted that onto there and backfilled that piece, and you could mill that side down, Dremel that bit off, you could create something that looked roughly right. And I would have been rightly pissed off if I'd have gone to the effort of doing that. And then 6 weeks later, somebody said, Angry Gun have got one. I mean, in fact, the only reason I didn't really start with the whole process is because I'd got a tip off that Angry Gun were actually going to make a rail. There was talk originally about Angry Gun actually making the monolithic upper, but they said, is anybody really going to pay £800 for this upper if we make one? And the unanimous answer was like, no, I'm probably not going to spend that much on an upper. So it never got made as an upper. It got made as a rail that was to be grafted onto an upper to give you a close approximation. I guess it's indicative of how airsoft guns have got better and better over the last few years, because somebody just mentioned in the comments, it's a bit like how in the old days you used to get a G36 and then bodge this bit on and bodge that bit on to make it into a certain model. And then not long after, Classic Army made a version of it. Things like Glock 18s or Glock 19s. How long was it before somebody came out, like Marui came out with a Glock 19? I think they were just holding back on that out of spite for a long time. But yeah, people buying Glock 17s, mashing a Garda kit over the top of it, buying a Garda flat frame and things like that. If you want one first, you probably have to put a lot of work in.
Well, that's my Ergi.
You get the attention.
So that's my Ergi build, built from parts from all over the place, and it's got it's got the right license, it's got the right license barrel, it's got the right gas block, it's got the right flash hider, it's got the right rail, it's got the right charging handle, it's got all that stuff on it. Marui are going to do that gun, but I still had that one. I'm still very happy with that. That's a GMP based. Yeah. I'm still really happy with that.
I built an AKSU once before anyone made one.
You did, with like plastic card and green stuff.
I literally, I got an old Classic Army metal body, put a real steel AKSU stock on it, loads of other stuff, because at the time no one made one, and probably the first AKSU in the country, I think. But that was purely scratch built and lots of milliput, plastic card, real steel parts.
Yeah. I'm at my 416 DevGrew thing. I got bitten by exactly the same bug with that. Got the 416D, I think it is, rear wired, certain parts on it different, made it, spent ages dicking around with it, then boom, Marui decided to make exactly that gun out of the box. But I had one before then, and I got to spend the time making it, so I wasn't too bitter. No, Don't get bitter is my...
I think
get lager.
You kind of touched it earlier, Gadge. You should enjoy the journey, really. It's kind of
for sure
one of those sporting metaphors that my triathlon coaches used to use all the time. Right, have we got any more kind of questions about or discussions about those releases? I think apparently MOA was quite limited, for obvious reasons, because of the reasons this year. So there were loads of people not there. There was some other stuff. It was like a load of Sten guns, which are not going to work and are going to leak, and stuff like that. That's just because they always do. But those were the main things. VFC and Archwick. Archwick have come out of nowhere in 2020 and been smashing some great stuff out. Jamie Penny Gadge asks.
Very quickly then, yeah, I saw that. It was a Marui Beta Spetsnaz, the most famous bollocks gun in the world, right? With all the made-up guns you're ever going to have. So it's a Beta Spetsnaz. Then I put a Classic Army metal body on it instead. I say real steel stock, change the indents, but internally it is a Marui.
Okay. Arius asked me, how old do I feel? I am 44 years old, Arius.
Gadge, reach over and feel him.
Tell me how old do I feel?
Other way.
Other way.
Yeah.
I have to go this way.
Can't do it. My camera doesn't work like that.
All right, there you go. I feel 44. I feel quite old at the moment. I'm not very, mainly because I'm not very fit. That's because I think I had COVID earlier in the year. My lungs have only just recovered, so I feel really old and not very fit. So, but we're getting there now. We're feeling a lot better. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, and 4,000 subs. So yeah, thanks guys for subbing to the channel. It's been, I think when Gadge and I set it up now, about getting on for 3 years ago now, 2.5 years. We're coming up on 3 years next March. We had no idea what success looked like. I still don't really know.
We got 100 subs and we were dead excited and went to the pub.
You did, because we could have a unique name, couldn't we, rather than just a series of letters and numbers. And that was really that was really exciting.
That was when pubs were a thing.
Do you remember the pub?
Yeah. Do you remember pubs?
Not really.
Do you guys in the comments remember pubs? Seems like a long time ago. I'm a bit gutted because our local has a big marquee and we can't even go down there, so that's a bit of a shame. Right, so let's move on to the next section of today's show, which is some viewer questions. So I've got some kind of pre-harvested that we'll go through. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments and we'll try and pick them off as we go through. Aris remembers our 100 subs. Yeah, if you remember, thanks very much for sticking around. It's been a really interesting time. So the first viewer questions. I've had a couple of questions about batteries recently. Now, as Ben, I'm getting really confused because Ben's Gadge and Gadge's Ben. If you're new to the stream, we had loads of technical difficulties. So basically, I'm not touching anything in case it all goes wrong again. So we had to bring them back in, and they just came in where they came in, and I'm not touching it. So talk about batteries. I'm not going to ask these guys to comment on battery brands because they work for an Airsoft brand. What I will just caveat and say I don't personally use Airsoft branded batteries. I use stuff from RC shops like Component Shop, generally Vape Techs. What we will talk about, and I think what I'll ask these guys about in general is kind of batteries in general and maybe some horror stories they've seen and heard. I know, Gadge, you moderate a Popper Airsoft forum and you've probably seen enough posts about stuff setting on fire. Do you want to recollect us with some of those?
Well, I mean, the main thing for me is that I'm amazed by the amount of people who spend quite a bit of money on a gun and then scrimp on batteries, and especially chargers. So I think it doesn't really matter so much which make a battery, as long as it's a reputable make and you're not using the battery and chargers that come with a budget gun, because that's a sure way of having a house fire. Also, people who don't understand the differences between NIAM and Life and LiPo batteries. I've seen people trying to charge their LiPo battery just using the balance connector. All sorts. It's education, really. I mean, take the time. I'm not very technical, but I took the time to read a few websites, understand how batteries work, understand what the discharge rate is, the C rating, that sort of stuff. And don't expect to just plug it into the mains and leave it overnight and go playing the next day and wonder why you've got some bloated semi-explosive sack of shit in the living room, you know.
I will do a longer episode on battery once I get my head around it because it's complicated.
There's a lot in there.
So I want to talk about just a bit about battery safety, and then we'll yeah. I mean, I've seen a few horror pictures of guns on fire in the middle of games as well and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't mind me jumping in, and I'll speak on my behalf. I won't speak for Gadge as well, but you know, at the business we work for doesn't manufacture batteries. It doesn't have a factory where it builds them. it buys batteries from a reputable supplier. And a lot of time and effort actually goes into picking a decent battery to start with. And the whole role of supplying them, as the company I work for does, is just to make it a lot easier for your airsoft shop and therefore your airsofter to buy a decent battery. It's one of those things where cost perhaps shouldn't be the overriding factor, because you do essentially have, as far as I'm aware, a load of acids and things like that inside a little pouch, which is what makes the battery work. And you don't want those getting out, and you want the pouch that it's in to be pretty tough, and you want the wires that connect it all to do their thing, and you want the connector on the end to do its thing as well. So you basically put in some pretty corrosive chemicals inside a really expensive airsoft gun. So don't look to just buy the cheapest one possible. I know they're not a very sexy and exciting piece of kit, but it's the same as BBs, really. They're not particularly exciting or sexy, but decent ones do make the difference between having a great time and having to go home early because something's gone wrong. So it's not a cool purchase, but it's a necessary purchase, and it's one that will pay you back in time. So spend a bit. I think
you're right, Ben. It's buying those things that are not sexy, and this leads on to Dan's question. So he asked how I store batteries. I'm really paranoid of my lipos, so I have a fireproof lipo charging bag that I keep them in, and I keep that inside a metal ammo tin, so that if it does cook off, it's not going to set fire to my house. Or if it does, it's going to give me enough warning to get the bugger out without it exploding,
I mean, go on, Tom.
These days, good ones are a lot better. Also, if you use a good charger, or not your as you talked about, not your cheapest possible trickle charger, a good smart charger, and you don't abuse, you don't overshoot them, so you don't drain the hell out of them, you don't overcharge them. There's loads of little bits and bobs, but if you look after them, and we'll do a bigger episode on it, we won't do a live stream on it. I'll do a presentation on it, or I'll interview a subject matter expert and then present and then upload it so we actually get it.
Sorry, Tom. I know there's a few comments coming up there. Just before I forget it, one thing to bear in mind is that ammo tins are metal and therefore conduct electricity and will provide a short. So, as Gadge does, keep them inside something.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's the battery. First,
yeah. I mean, most battery failures I've seen over the years have been down to abuse through one way or another. They're pretty fragile things. It's not the same as a battery you're going to get for your DeWalt drill or something. It's not like a cartridge battery. No. They are kind of a little bit floppy, and if you bend the wires around, they will come unsoldered. Worst case, you cut the insulation and you short the battery, which is what causes most fires. Is a short.
I've seen it. I've seen the stuff I've seen has been people shoving them into spaces that are too tight for them. People pulling them out of spaces that are too tight for them, particularly pulling the connectors off if it's mini Tamiya, and then shorting the wires, and then you're in real trouble. People have asked about Titans. The cells themselves are more robust. They are not as high performance as a lot of batteries. So if you run a kind of a stockish gun and you want it to last forever, great. If you run a more high performance gun, then maybe not for you. We'll go into that in much more detail. But I think it's just one of those things, isn't it?
Sorry, I just noticed there's a charger to put them in a stored state, which is a great idea. Very good drills with them. However, the drain on a LiPo battery is so low that it won't deep drain itself without being used for a very, very, very long time. That was a thing that happened with nickel metal hydride and NiCad batteries back in the day, is that their native drain, if you just let them in storage, they will deplete over time. With LiPos, that's not even really a factor. So I wouldn't sweat too much about that. The most important thing is to not cram them in something, and do treat them delicately, because they'll bite you if you start yanking the poor things around. A bit like pulling a cat's tail.
Yeah. Rage Foul just mentions about people not knowing who's reputable. All I have to say is go to a bigger shop. I mean, I bought in the past. I bought from people like Component Shop who've done me good batteries. But again, the bigger airsoft companies, and I'd be biased, so I've got to be careful what I say, generally have stringent safety checks on what they buy and what they sell. So all I would stress again is don't use the one that comes with your gun.
I would generally say if you're unsure, pick up the phone or go into a store when you can. Excuse me, and talk to an airsoft shop owner and ask them about batteries and give them the time to explain to you the best thing to do, and then accept the fact that what you are paying for is that person's time explaining what they have just told you, and that's why the battery charger and battery that they've got in the shop might be a little bit more expensive than one you can find on eBay or something like that, because you haven't phoned the guy that's on eBay up to ask him for his advice. Get the guy that's in the shop to tell you their hard-earned experience, to give you a bit of guidance, and pay that extra $5 that they might be charging just to go with it. That's probably my best bit of advice I can give you. There's so many questions, there's so many uncertainties, there's so many variables. What size should I get? What voltage should I get? But yeah, you probably need to talk to somebody about your specific case, and we can't be there all the time, and we can't make a video about every individual side of things. But if you phone up somebody at an airsoft shop and say, I've got this gun, it's got this bit in it, what battery and charge do I need? They'll be able to tell you the best thing.
It's also about what you want from your battery. Do you want the highest discharge rate to get your trigger response as high as possible? Or do you want it to last? There are trade-offs. Like everything in life, there are trade-offs. The batteries which discharge the fastest are also the batteries which don't last as long. It's so you have to make a choice about what you want. And again, as Ben says, that's a great conversation to have with the person that's selling it to you. And fantastic. So, I think we'll probably stop there. So I think it's treat them right, get some advice from the person that's selling it to you. And if they can't give you advice, probably don't buy it from them.
Yeah. Don't be scared to pay a little bit extra for it as well, because what's a $5 when you've not got a battery fire?
Or your house or your gun is on fire, or your car. So it's probably really not worth messing around with. Okay, so thanks for that, guys. The next one we're going to talk about is a question I have is what to eat at Airsoft Fence, and most importantly, what to eat before you get there. And I think I know the answer.
Cake. It's Tom's birthday. Eat cake.
Cake. I'm terrified someone's going to walk in with cake at some point. Gadge, what do we always eat when we go to a Airsoft
I think
event?
you've got to be healthy and nutritious, so I recommend Monster Energy drink, Rustler's Burgers, and if you've got half a kebab from last night's session on the piss, then that's quite good. I
always save that until I get home
in the morning as a good Kickstarter. If you can't do something as healthy and sensible and measured as that, then a McDonald's sausage egg muffin and a really strong coffee, close substitute. But always make sure you're having your right amount of fat, sugar, and junk food in the morning. It's really important.
I remember the old talking about healthy stuff, and then lockdowns happened, and I've completely forgotten about all that kind of stuff now.
People think I'm joking, Ben.
I know.
I've been playing with you for 20 years. That sounds wrong. I've been attending events with you for 20 years, Gadge. I know exactly. I know exactly what happens in the morning.
Jimmy Hibbard.
Pot noodles, Jesus. It's another show I want to do actually on it's almost sports nutrition, isn't it? But there's a difference between eating for hyper performance and eating for health and actually sustaining yourself through the day.
Can I be really gross, please?
Of course you can.
Can I be really gross, Tom? I think one big factor is eating so you can cleanly go for a poop at some point during the day if you have to.
Yep.
Because nobody wants to be trapped in a portaloo blasting it out their ring at lunchtime. Because they're never as nice as you want them to be, are they?
On a hot summer's day in a porta pot, man, it's never a good time.
It also depends on what game we're talking about. So, as I said, if I'm going to an open day and I know I'm going to be there for 5 hours, I might well have a McDonald's breakfast and an energy drink. If I'm going to a mill somewhere, I'm there on the Friday night, the Saturday, the Sunday, I'm probably going to eat ration packs. If I can take fresh food, I will. That's good, because I've got to fuel myself to keep going for like 48 hours. I can't. If I went there on Monster drinks and I don't know, microwave kebab, I'm going to pass out after 8 hours of running around with a plate carrier on.
A bag of flat packs.
Yeah. I mean, I really like if I'm being good and it might be like a particularly strenuous game, I always go for like you know, I think they sell them in Tesco's, like the Eat Natural bars or those Belvita breakfast bake things, because I find they do actually fill you up for a pretty good time, and also, you know, they're not loaded full of too much sugar, and they're slow release energy and stuff like that, and it's, you know, not too junky. I don't know what the nutritional breakdown of them is, but I do know they fill me up for quite a long time.
I mean, in all seriousness, Ben, I actually do stand by. You know, there's Lucasade isotonic drinks. Now, I got a bit of a liking for those when I was doing my infantry training, because you could be really dehydrated and they just did the trick. And whether they're any good for you or not, I don't know. But they always psychologically make me feel a lot better when I'm hot and I'm tired and I need a drink.
Especially energy drink, because there's sugar. So from a sports point of view, you can run on sugar for quite a long time, but once you start on pure sugar, you pretty much need to stay on sugar. It's and then you have to just keep going, and then you will. If you don't keep going, you will crash. So again, I used to coach some of this stuff, but you can take in, like, you train yourself taking up to 100 grams of sugar an hour along with water, but you just need to keep going. So generally, I would personally avoid sugary food unless you are like on your arse. If you're completely dying at 7 o'clock on a meal sim and you've got the night ahead, then you might need to get a little boost, or you might need to get a big meal into you. What do I eat? For a skirmish, I generally don't really mind, because I don't actually do very much, if I'm quite honest. I normally like moan a lot and drink
smoke a lot
and drink coffee.
And look wistfully into the future for that after game beer that you're definitely going for.
Yeah, it's, most of my airsofting is largely a social. It's what it is. It's what I do. I like collecting guns. I like using them. I like spending time with my mates. That's what it's about for me. So I don't really. I'm not. However, I have been quite a serious athlete in the past, and I'll do an episode on it because it's interesting, and I'll try and find someone. I'll try and find a nutritionist or a proper dietitian actually to come and talk about it, and what they would recommend. I think that'd be quite interesting. Probably shock a lot of people. It probably isn't Monster and chocolate bars.
Yeah, it's never great. I like to have a nice help.
I think one of the things people
have a nice. Go on, Tom. Sorry.
So I was going to say one of the things people neglect is what they ate, what they eat the day before.
Yeah, I was about to say usually have like a big spag bowl or something with rice or something like that. My partner, being Italian, is generally pretty good at giving us some sort of nice pasta dish. So I do like that the night before.
Ben, that's bullshit. You have 9 pints the day before a game. That's your usual fuel up.
Sometimes that has been known. Yeah, and it's the quickest way to make it really hard work in the morning, isn't it?
Oh dear.
Yeah, I don't know why it seems so tempting. The night before seems so tempting. I'll just pop down the pub for a quick couple. I'll be back in bed by 10.
I mean, when I used to run games day for Games Workshop, I was always like, I'll just have a couple of pints to relax me before games day the next day. 3 a.m, like Dylan's going, hey, we've got to be on the bus in 4 hours. I'm like,
Adam Smith says what you need is a mid-weekender chili man meal sim cook. So this goes back to our conversation, Gadge. Yeah. Adam, it was Adam's team from the Isle of Man who had the chili cook.
Yeah. The pro man chili cook, that was amazing. Probably the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Very quickly, in answer to Dan, I try and take a bit of fruit if I can. I find fruit really good because sometimes I get sick of ration packs. So the odd apple,
you mean you don't
fit one in my pack? It's really nice.
Usually try and kill something while I'm there.
Using them bushcraft skills.
No, it's just murder one of them Ginsters things. You know, them pasties. Or if it's in Scotland, you can kill a haggis, can't you?
Yeah, but you need to go the right way around the hill because otherwise it's got the legs on one side are shorter than they are on the other, so they can only run in one direction. It's just true. It's a true story. Ask a Scotsman. I'll be delighted to talk to you about it. I think we've ruined that topic.
We've cracked all those jokes, haven't we?
I think if any advice is, just don't eat anything out of the ordinary and don't fill yourself full of sugar and caffeine and then crash after lunch. Get the 2 o'clock blues and start shouting, which is what seems to happen quite a lot. Okay, so the next question, I will go back to this topic properly, and we'll do a more serious episode on it. I won't do a live stream unless I get a guest in who actually knows what they're talking about, because we don't. Okay, next question.
Where's my crisps anyway?
Exactly. The next
I've
question
got a kebab in the microwave. It's going to bing in a minute.
The next question the next question we have loaded up is all about loadout. So, how do you choose a loadout? Is it an era, a film? Is it cool? Is it comfy? What sparks your interest? We've done this before, but let's. I've got something I want to do. Yeah.
Sorry, Tom. It's usually just a picture. It's usually a picture that you sit there and go, "Isn't that cool?" So, if I was to be honest, what usually sparks it for me is when I'm sitting down the pub with you two, somebody whips out their phone and goes, "Look how cool this is." And we sit there for the next 3 hours ignoring everybody else. And then by the time we've left, somebody's bought something on eBay. Somebody else has got their PayPal account completely emptied out. And we wake up the next day and realise we've started a whole new load of kit that I'll probably only ever get halfway through before moving on to the next thing.
So for Ben, it's inspirational photos. Gadge, what gets you going?
I think it's the same reason you should choose your first gun or any type of gun. It's what you think looks cool. Sometimes you have to choose a loadout to fit in with the game you're doing or what your team's playing as. But if you don't think that the kit you're wearing is the dog's bollocks, you're going to sell it. It has to be something that makes you go, do you know what? I am Dolph Lundgren in that film, or I am sort of like, I am in 13 hours or whatever. You have to actually feel that there's the reason you play Army. You can have all the historical reasons you want in the world, like my uncle used to be a paratrooper or whatever, but if you don't think that kit looks the business, you're not going to collect it. So really, what should make you choose a loadout is what makes you happy and what do you think looks cool, and what also is it going to do? Do you want to be noticed from the crowd, or do you want it to be practical? So that's another thing as well. But once you decided whether you want to be, go on.
Sorry, I am on Saturday. I am going to scream, "I am Dolph Lundgren" at one point in the middle of an airsoft game.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's not something I've ever done before, but I'm going to definitely go for that one.
We've almost created our own. So as a result of some games, we have created our own kind of fictitious PMC. Mercenary contractor company, and we're now doing loadouts based on this fictitious PMC loadout company. But there are some solid base on reality, but it's kind of so one of the things that gets me going is stuff like that. I think it's really cool. I like being part of a team. I like, to a certain extent, I like conforming to that. I think it's great when you.
Yeah, I like team loadouts. We have a very loose one, don't we, of like multicam and grey for modern stuff. But I like that.
Are we doing that? Are we doing that at the next game?
No, we're doing that Sandline 2020.
No, we're doing Sandline 2020.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is that what we're doing?
We're doing that, Ben. We're doing that.
Your idea, Ben.
Let me make a note.
Because it makes
like Ozzy Osbourne at the moment. Because
it makes you happy.
The days keep blending into one, and I feel like Ozzy Osbourne. What bloody hell's going on?
This is a very us moment, but I'll put some photos up of us.
It was your idea, Ben. Remember?
You got pissed up, got dressed up, and sent us photos. Not like that, guys. Don't get excited.
I got some.
That was the day after.
Adam Smith says a group chat of people posting cool pictures usually ends up in someone buying something unnecessary. Absolutely,
yes.
Particularly when you're in the pub and you're egging each other on.
Yeah.
D. Barron works the gear around the riff. And the older, fatter and slower he's gotten, the lighter at minimum my gear has gotten. Absolutely. I totally agree.
I agree with that. I think the gun should fit the loadout.
Angelo's, his first inspiration was 1980s SAS counter-terrorist. Black kit
cool
is always a classic.
To do.
To do it really well.
He's still got the kit, though. I bet he's still got it.
He's still got it. He sent me a picture the other day. Not like that. Jamie Penny has a whole load of kit. Danish.
Great. The old Danish M84 stuff is lovely. I had a set of it. I sold it in there, so I didn't use it, but it's a cracking pattern.
Some of the Scandinavian stuff's amazing. I really want some Norwegian, but it's like really hard to get. I've just watched. Have you watched Mosul on Netflix, guys?
Not yet.
It's about the Mosul SWAT team, who were a real unit, and the films are not how sure how true to life the film is, but the gear they're wearing is really quite accurate, and they look like a bunch of airsofters. It's brilliant. So they've got like black BDUs, SWAT caps, and then any load-bearing kit they could wear. So I want to do
like
that.
the Savrings.
Yeah, Savs, condor harnesses.
We've all had a
it's
Savrig at some point.
absolutely
haven't we?
amazing. Do you know what? It looks brilliant. It looks brilliant. I want to do that. It's really cool. I've got all the kit. All I need is some black BDUs for like 20 quid. So I should probably have to go and get some of those. But it's like, it's like they're kind of wearing any really, really dark camo. It's really and these really like £10 Amazon SWAT caps. It's great. Looks fantastic. Looks fantastic. And old AKs because they're doing battlefield pickup.
There's a spicy one, Tom.
Yeah.
Look at that one. Roger File 1978.
I shall ping it up.
That's a spicy one to pick out. What is it? To be honest, I feel like it's about 65 to 70% of the whole thing for me. Because I am a modeler at heart, and I don't mean a model, I mean a modeler. I like to build models of things, and I like to replicate things. For me, the majority of airsoft, like I say, 65 to 70% is building a full-scale model. That's the important bit for me. When it comes to actually playing airsoft, I feel like it adds so much to the experience. Lets you really disassociate from the idea of shooting little balls around at each other, and lets you kind of emotionally invest yourself in something that's very trivial. That's pretty much it for me. I am a nerd, though. A lot of people perhaps aren't quite as nerdy as me, and like airsoft for a slightly more sporty reason. But no, I'm the nerd. I'm the nerd.
I think for me, Ben, it's what you say. But I'm a reenactor at heart as well, and I like playing army in the woods, and I like being in that war film. And for me, if I'm running around in jeans and a tracksuit top, okay, it doesn't make me any worse or a better player, but I can't imagine that I'm in Saving Private Ryan or I'm in Platoon or whatever and get that kick I get out of the game from doing that. And also for me, airsoft was always playing army in the woods, and it was scenarios. And airsoft has changed a lot over the last 20 years. For better or worse, I'm not going to question on that, but it always used to be much more. Your average open day was more of a milsim in many ways than it is these days. Nowadays, the terminology has changed. So people talk about the map you're playing on. We're going to play domination or whatever. It used to be, right, this team, we're going to infiltrate the bunker complex and do X, Y, and Z, but it very much was like the original paintball routes before that went tournament. So for me, it's about that suspension of disbelief. It's about that I'm not being Gadge Harvey who works for an airsoft company day in, day out in front of my computer. I'm actually a US Marine in Khe-Sanh, and someone's shouting, "Dumb Army GI" at me across the wall. He's dressed as a Viet Cong. Totally get off on that. Not that interested in open day, regular red versus blue team stuff, you know.
Agreed.
I don't think I can add anything to that, gentlemen. I think that's extremely succinct way of doing it.
There's an odd aspect. Sorry, there's an odd aspect there, though. The same gent that asked the question just said he wants stuff that works well. I think that is part of the appeal of the loadout as well. You're only going to decide on stuff that might actually work for you. It's like, I'll look at a loadout and I'll think, you know what, that's really not going to suit me or appeal to me. And that kit looks absolutely shite, so I'm not going to bother buying any of it. But then, things swap around a little bit sometimes. You can sometimes pick up one bit of kit and say, oh, actually, this works really, really well. I will indulge in that a little bit. But some of the other stuff that goes with it doesn't work quite so well. But I'm willing to accept that compromise just for the accuracy
for the
of
look,
it.
Very quickly, guys. Angelo just said, "Well, we're taking part in Speedsoft." We did, didn't we? We played Speedsoft that time and loved it. It was good fun, but it wasn't airsoft. It was a totally different thing. It was a competitive sport more than airsoft. But to me, it wasn't what I get out of airsoft. I enjoyed running around and shooting people and bouncing off inflatable obstacles, but it wasn't a game of airsoft.
I think there's potential for it to be more like we play as well. But I've got no problem with it.
We won. We had a couple of ringers on our team as well, didn't we? But we did win.
Yeah,
we had some of the country's best paintball tournament players.
They played it. They pretty much carried us, didn't they?
And then walked off and said, "Oh, that was well good. Shall we use real caps next
stand there,
time?"
shoot down that channel.
Yeah.
I think some interesting stuff you could do with that format that people don't.
I actually enjoyed the concept of it, though. I enjoyed the idea of calling out the targets and the very fast-paced CQB kind of battle game. I loved it. It just didn't flick the same buttons that a game of military airsoft does for me. So that's probably why I haven't gone back to it. You know.
Well, tournament side, they actively don't want you wearing armor. They don't want you wearing baggy clothes. They don't want you having loads of mags on your chest because you can't feel hits. So it's one of those.
And I used to play paintball at like competitive level, and I've got no real interest in going back there.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, conversely, I quite like manky kit that doesn't really work very well. Almost from a kind of
recce.
Almost kind of from a sort of living history point of view. Almost, what's it like to fight in this? What's it like? Because I'm not massively competitive. It's just I find it quite interesting carrying a load around and going, oh, actually, it's really hard to get my mags out and all that sort of stuff.
What I love about Soviet stuff in Cold War, it's literally
so
prehistoric nonsense. It's so bad, the kit, but it really makes you understand what those poor 18-year-olds suffered through for 2 years of their life.
Okay, so
if your compressed paper holster doesn't disintegrate, you will be victorious.
Some of it is so awful. And it smells like manky cigarettes because it's been in a warehouse for 40 years. Let's move on to the next question I've got, which is about what previous episodes or subjects would you like to revisit? It's probably even me more than anything else. But is there anything you guys would like to see me have another look at or dive a bit further into?
Range tests, mate, because we winged that the first time we did it. We had understanding of the principles, but we didn't really have decent targets. We were using a chair with bits of paper glued to it. You know,
groundbreaking that was.
Yeah, but we didn't have if we could do that again on the range that we use at Thurston Airgun and Archery Centre, if we could go back there again, and do those. How far will a stock AG shoot on these different weights?
Yeah.
How much does this FPS? That was really interesting stuff, but I feel we didn't do it justice because we were still learning.
I could do a lot better now. I can run my scope cam. I can run the attack sense targets. Yeah, we'll do that again. But the problem I have is I don't have any stock guns.
I've got loads.
So we probably need to sort that out. But
I also know an airsoft company I could probably borrow some from.
Yeah, Phil Bucknell says he remembers doing the DAS review with the tactical chair target. Ben, what do you reckon?
I just wanted to answer Jamie. Yes, I will, and Tom will, and probably Gadge will as well. I'm going to make them.
Yeah, you don't have to make them, mate.
What was it?
Shorts and a foul.
Yeah, go on then. I've got some really short South African shorts that I've possibly seen.
I might have to get some made for me, but I'm well up for it. It's really not a problem.
Job done. See,
I agree, Gadge. I would like to revisit, and actually, they are the most popular videos on the channel, and I would like to go back and do them better. Now I've got a much better understanding of BB ballistics in AEGs. I'm not great on DMRs or bolt actions, springers, but I've got a pretty good understanding of how BBs fly out of an AEG now. I'd like to go back and do that better with better tech and explain it better.
Yeah, there's a lot of videos. There's a few things I'd probably like to do for the first time. There were things that I used to write features on that I'd like to help kind of make into a video.
Great.
I remember when I did a little bit of testing with some microphones and some things like that to find out if suppressors actually made a difference, because there was this kind of counter rumor that was going around that said if you've got a suppressor, it doesn't actually make any difference because all the noise comes from the gearbox. And I said, well, let's test it and let's see if we can demonstrate it. And by the time I actually tested it, I found there were so many variables and different bits that it was difficult to fit into anything less than a kind of 10,000 word essay, which would have been undigestible as a magazine feature, but as a video we could actually do it and demonstrate it. Things like that would be great. I'd also like to have a bash at the polishing one again.
Polished internals? Yeah,
I did actually. I haven't shown anyone because I want to do it again properly. I did actually, after the basic teching debacle when I got a bit pished, I coated the interior of a gearbox with a Sharpie and then ran 6,000 BBs through it, and then had a look at the wear patterns. And yes, Yes, it does not wear where they polish them.
Where?
Where does not wear where. Does not wear.
Where?
Does not wear.
Tell you another one I'd like to do again, guys, but obviously we can't because of having a biased interest these days. I quite enjoyed the storm grenade one we did when we first got it because there was a lot of fun in that. And I just think now if we did that with tax sense targets rather than the big paper ones we used before, actually throwing it into a bigger room with like 10 or 20 targets in there at different distances and working out exactly what the spread is in a more mathematical sort of like way would be really, really good fun. But obviously that'd be more like a promotion now.
Just film it in slow motion. Angelo says he gets lots of questions about players wanting to move over to gas guns or GBBRs, a program covering the significant differences between the two. Can you join in? Yes, Angelo, come join me at Thurston and we'll have a natter about it. We'll get in touch when things are more normal, mate. Absolutely. Got no problems. But I think for me a lot of the early range stuff where we were just learning, because when we went to the jail that day, Gadge, and we just shot those BBs, and I think Ben was actually behind the camera that day. We were literally just didn't know. Yeah, we didn't know.
And there's a little bit of the naivety is quite cool in that in its own way, because you can see the genuine shock on our faces when we realise that, this is our findings and they weren't what we thought they'd be. I quite like those Mythbusters kind of episodes of stuff we did to a degree,
Oh yeah, so I think Ben,
we've done some fun skits and bits and bobs, haven't we? And a little bit of dramatic footage and things like that over time. And Tom, your knowledge has become pretty well founded now. You've spent a lot of time and effort, looking into things, learning new techniques, investing in the right equipment to do stuff. Even if you were to go from the very beginning and remake every single video, I think you would incrementally do an even better job than you've already done as time's gone on. I have no doubt that you'd step it up every single time.
Yeah.
Just
you could pick anyone out of a hat.
Well, I've for those that don't know, I've got no background as a filmmaker whatsoever. I've got background as a product designer who can run Adobe products. That's about it, really. And it's just happened. So I've learned an awful lot, and I've got a lot more tech and a lot more cameras and a lot more stuff now. My best reviews are actually not on this channel; they're on Taiwan Gun, who pay me to, let's be quite honest, they pay me to review guns. They're very honest. I tend to show the facts. Don't really have much of an opinion. You can see the gun perform. But my best reviews are on there. My best reviews of guns are on their channel. But my best stuff, I think, is obviously on my own channel. But that's the weirder range stuff. And I'd love to go back and do more of that stuff. So yeah, very happy. Once things are more normal, or we get the opportunity, and let's go and shoot some stuff. Ultimately, a day on the range is never a bad day, is it?
Yeah. What was I'm trying to think of one of the nicest days we had at Felston, sitting out in the sun for a few hours. Whatever video that was, I'd love to revisit.
We've had quite a few like that,
though. What else I'd like to do? I want to do some more on more sort of bushcrafty survival, not necessarily survival, but just making life more comfortable when you're away for the weekend sort of videos. But yeah, I think the previous stuff, the early range stuff, when we didn't really know what we're doing, and I can present it in a better way, with better visuals than we did back then. I think that'd be great.
Just punched the table. I'm so supportive of that idea. I just punched the
table.
So
my last pre-prepared question is life with a GHK so far. Almost goes back to what Angelo was saying earlier. I don't really have enough time with it at the moment. Played like one game due to COVID. It worked great. I really enjoyed it. Gadge heard it firing. It sounded ace. That was the best bit.
Got a good number for feed lips if you need them, but you have to ring the guy really late.
Yeah, if you do, my biggest tip: if you do buy one, particularly if you buy one from Taiwan, buy like 10 feed lips, because the feed lips on the mags will crack unless you file them, and then it's just the worst thing about it's just the same in real firearms. The heart and soul of any firearm system is the magazine, and the feeding system on GHKs is not great. So my major advice, if you're going to buy a GHK, probably actually you still buy it from Taiwan, and get a shitload of feed lips, spare feed lips. I've got like 15 for my 5 mags, just in case. But it ran great. It was. You're not going to shoot a lot of BBs. Don't expect to. Take care of every shot you shoot, because you only got 30 in the mag, and they weigh a ton, so you're only carrying 5 or 6. and just enjoy. I think enjoy every shot you fire. Every time you fire it, it's great. It's a great experience. Trigger feels good. It recoils. It sends BBs downrange. Fantastic fun. But I don't really have enough games with it at the moment to have an opinion. And I don't want to present a load of guff to you guys, which I haven't experienced. If I don't believe in it, I don't want to. So that's why you haven't seen it yet. That's why I haven't done a maintenance one, because I haven't got enough experience maintaining and looking after one yet.
I think that you hit a big nail on the head there, though, Tom, because you said if I don't believe in it or I don't use it, I can't really give you an honest opinion. So one of the earlier questions was, could we do an AEG versus HPA comparison? Now, I know that you and I'd rather pull my own toenails off than use a HPA gun, personally, because it just hasn't. It's, to me, again, it's got. I don't want to have a hose sticking out at the end of my gun. I'm not that interested in it, so I would not be able to do that objectively, even if it didn't work for an airsoft company. I just have no interest in doing it. You know, and I think part of your channel has always been believing in what you say.
I was about to say, Gadge, I couldn't really get involved in an HPA setup one because I honestly don't care enough about HPA stuff. I don't care enough to build an opinion on them. I'm immediately very biased against them. It could shoot a BB 50% further than any other gun that's ever been made, and I still wouldn't want to use one. So my views on it are probably null and void.
The only reason I would be interested in an HPA gun is it means I can control the variables. So almost as a bench rig for testing barrels and hops and BBs, because every time you make a change, you change something else in an AEG. Yeah, you add hop, you drop power. With an HPA rig, you can turn up the reg and get one joule at the muzzle every time. Stuff like that.
Test bed, isn't it? Yeah.
Something like that would be really interesting as a test bed. I don't have the money. At some point, hey, if anyone's out there, would love to provide AATV with a with an HPA test bed.
Change our minds.
Change my mind. Not even that. Not even playing with it. Just as a test bed, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Are we still open to questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, someone just asked about AKs earlier on. It's a really good one I want to answer. Actually,
can somebody quickly ask how quickly Ben can go for a wee and get back in front of the camera? I'd love it. If somebody asked that. I'll be back in a moment.
So, Tom, someone asked about LCT AKs, and I think we actually did an AK test a while back. One of the very early things we did with Airsoft Action together, I think.
We bought some LCTs, yeah.
Yeah, and we bought... Well, didn't we do also an accuracy test using a Marui, a Cyber gun, an LCT, and A&K?
That was for the magazine.
Actually, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. But I think with the E&L, for me, out of the, I'll say, mid to high range AKs, they're superlative. They're really good. The E&L, though, I think is better value for money. You know, the LCT, rather.
Yeah,
would be my opinion.
They've gone up in price a lot recently. They used to be like 230, and they're now pushing 300, 330.
But the accuracy, when we did the grouping test, I think the E&L and the LCT were pretty comparable, if I remember rightly.
Is anyone timing Ben?
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, Gadge has an E&L AK-74. I have an LCT AK-74. Mine is predictably not stock, so it would not be a fair comparison.
I mean, I've got an LCT AK-47S, which is internally pretty much the same, isn't it? It's like only externally different.
Ben's is definitely not stock. I tend to think the E&Ls are better externally, and they rust really, really realistically as well. And the
they're pigs for rust.
And the LCTs are better internally. I think both are great choices.
Mine is actually stock, Tom.
Yeah.
All the components are the stock components. I just shaved 5 sector gear teeth off of it. Apart from the spring. One of the springs, the spring in it is actually made of.
That's a good point, Ben.
One of Satan's hairs.
Yeah. Thinking about shaving bits off things, with the E&L.
Jesus.
No, I found it works great with E&L mags. A lot of other mags, I had to literally get a scalpel and shave bits away from the lock-in point, or it just won't go in. There's a weird angle of like engagement where you have to literally thin it down and flatten it off a little bit. So, and if you don't, you're really stuck with just using E&L mags.
It might just be yours, but I have seen anecdotally some other people saying that the magwell's a bit less
forgiving
with the other stuff. Does anyone else have any other questions out there? Let's have a little look through. Phil says HPA, nope.
Cyma is fine. It is, I'm not being funny, but
Right.
I bought when Cyma brought in really cheap AGs around about 2006. I think me and my friend Evo bought about 6 or 7. We bought 2 Thompsons, 2 47s, 2 M14s, and a few other things because we had to buy a certain amount to get them at £60 each. And I had a Marui AK, and the Cyma AK was as good, if not the same as. It was just really good.
I have to be honest; they are fine. They're gun shaped. Yes, they've got everything's in the right shape. You can get the right models. They're not the same quality of finish, though, are they? They've not got like steel outers and things like that. So whilst they're absolutely fine, and I'm not going to look down on you for having one. Mm-hmm. There is definite benefit and stuff to buying an LCT or an ENL.
Weirdly, though,
like
Ben.
Stuff like that.
Weirdly, Ben, the Cyma Thompson was actually an improvement over the Marui because the Marui once had an outer barrel weakness, and it wasn't a case of if it broke, it was when it broke. And when Cyma basically made their clone, they fixed that problem, which was actually quite nice to see someone. Okay, you're ripping off someone else's design and cloning it and reverse engineering it, but at least you're fixing the problem while you're doing it.
Joe Horsfield asks, "Do I want any more booze?" Think I'm all right. You could bring in the big Leffy bottle, though. That would be quite nice. Just in case. I've had some Cyma M16 things recently, and an MP5. They've been great for the money. I would like to get hold of a couple of Cyma AKs from Taiwan Gun and have a look at them, but they seem great. LCT Arcturus AK-12. I've only had the Arcturus, so I can't tell you. Again, I haven't got a basis.
Angelo, it's Tom's birthday, and Tom's doing the plug-in today.
Get off my channel. No plugs on my channel. It's very rude, Angelo. It's awful.
See, Jamie mentions a Cyma SVD. I've got a Cyma SVD, and I actually think it's pony.
I thought that was just the way you were sitting, Tom.
I bought it for the look for doing Soviet reenactment, but it's actually not a good AG. Even with a few upgrades in it, it's still subpar. So I'm not mad on that. I think it's one of the things where Cyma didn't do a good job on it, if I'm honest, with the SVD. I mean, Tom, you've used it. It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd like to have a look inside that, actually.
Mate, you can do what you like with it, because it's
we were looking at doing a DMR thing with it, and we just looked at it and we were like, this is just horrendous. It's a bad clone of the real sword, Ben, with the 4 gears.
That's why I'm curious to have a look inside.
Mate, if you can make it work well, I'll buy you beer.
Yay.
Brilliant. Right, game's on.
So, are there any more questions from anyone? Angelo's apologised. Don't worry, Angelo. If Specna would like to sponsor the channel, please get in touch. Give me lots of money.
Who's Caroline?
Beer delivery.
It's the birthday beer delivery.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Jamie. It pretty much is a clone of the real sword one, but with much subpar materials. I'd say, like the actual the handguard is really, really weak laminate, in my opinion, compared to the real sword.
D Baron asks, how have I got on with the Psionic drop-in hop stuff? Do I think it's worth it at UK power levels? Yes, absolutely. I do think it's worth it. I went. Now, bear in mind, I didn't pay for it. They sent it to me. I've got loads of barrels and bits and bobs and stuff. But I saw a significant enough performance increase. There's a video on the channel. We went from like 55 to 75 meters with a change of hop unit, mainly because we could adequately hop heavier BBs, which is always what's happened. Better hops allow you to hop heavier BBs with less loss in power, and they'll go and they'll go further. So there you go. But yes, I think
we'll
I think
have a couple more in.
I've got.
I'm sorry.
I know I've got a few, but I've got another one. I've got another barrel coming from them for my SEMA SR25, and I've got a few more bits and bobs. So I did, certainly for me. Bear in mind, as a reviewer, I don't pay for them. Brilliant. They just turn up and I drop them in, and I get a better performance. As a consumer, you have to weigh up whether it's worth the money or not. I don't pay for them.
Definitely want to see Matt's review of the Double Eagle GBBR. Definitely want to see a review of that.
That would be.
Can I review that G36 I got, Tom?
Phil,
the G36.
yeah. Phil. I know Sarnik sent some stuff to Phil Bucknell. Again, yeah, he got 10, 15 meters extra range out of it. So it's whether you think 100 odd quid is worth 10, 15 meters. So that's going to be down to you. If you play in CQB, it's pointless. If you play in large open woodland games, 10, 15 meters might make a big difference to you. Don't know.
Sure.
To you.
Take a look.
I've never heard of them.
I'm well out of the loop when it comes to these bits and pieces.
Christian asks, what weight am I using in my GHK? I'm using 0.3s at the moment. I get dual creep in it. So if I use anything heavier than 0.3s, it just dual creeps through the roof. So that would be cheating. So I don't do it. What did I get? Dan asked what did I get for my birthday. I got a really big monitor, which is just over my shoulder at the moment. It's 32 inch. It's probably too big. The words are really, really small.
I bought you beer.
I need binoculars to see the text in Photoshop. But it's really good.
Best AG recoil shock apart from TM. Weird enough, I know Simon did a really good, an interesting clone of the TM recoil shock, but where the recoil shock AK had a weird gearbox mech at the bottom. It had a standard V3 one, which was kind of cool, and it didn't shake itself apart, which was quite cool as well.
Probably the erg.
Yeah, it's probably
on
the
cue.
best.
On cue, Mr. Bucknell says the erg.
What was the LCT one like, Tom, when you put it in your AK?
Don't buy it.
The grinder.
Don't buy it.
You know what?
Can I just caveat that statement? I've only used the version 1. There is a version 2. So I can't comment on the version 2. Though it does use the same sort of let's just smack 2 bits of steel together repeatedly, which is generally never a great idea. Certainly the version 1. The version 1 is not in my gun anymore. Gone.
The only reason I've never really worked or used an erg myself is because they never made a mil spec kind of model of the gun whilst I was looking at them. So I never really got into using one, but I do hear they're pretty fancy. Somebody mentioned about the bolt ones, and whilst I've had a go on one of those a couple of times, they're all right. But I have managed to shake bolts out of them literally within a couple of moments. I think it suffers from the same problem as the LCT one, that it's fun to use, so you kind of end up wearing them down or rattling them apart. Vibration is a thing.
The LCT was just ridiculous. You've had a go on it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it was brilliant fun.
you have to hold the fire selector in place and the hop arm. and if it's not a really new gun, the front end will walk off.
Yeah, my Robust AK shakes itself to bits if I put more than 4 mags to it.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant for like 1 mag, absolutely fantastic, and then you have to like tighten everything down again. So yeah, it's no longer a thing.
I lost a comment back up there. Sorry, I've had to cut down to just watching the guest feed.
What are you going for?
But it was the one above Ragerfile's comment about the MP5 and 416.
Maple leaf hop up rubbers.
I seriously, I know it was something worthwhile. I do have some of the maple leaf macaron things, and I genuinely think they are not a patch on the Prometheus purple stuff. They've got quite a detailed nub, so the nub inside them's like it's got fingers on it. It sounds really gross, but it's kind of like specially contoured. I just feel they're too soft, and it all just deflects when a BB goes past it, and doesn't really work. As in my Evo, I had one of the maple leaf rubbers, and I swapped it for the Prometheus purple, and it was like night and day. It was much better.
I've got one. I've got a maple leaf in my GHK, but it's their VSR system one because it's the non-bridged barrel.
Yeah.
I would like to. It's a good video to do. I would like to do a battle of the major hops rubbers. All it's going to tell me though is how good is that hot rubber with that BB in that gun on that day. But we can then draw our own conclusions from it. Margie asks, we did try and film this actually, Gadge.
We did a whole video, didn't we? And then because of a technical error, we lost all the audio, unfortunately.
Yeah, we can. So we'll do that. We will do that again once we can. We filmed it pre-lockdown and we lost the audio. Go for it, mate.
Quickly, the rails on the side are amazing, to be honest. And if anything, they're a little bit too firm. So if you put in something like comms on them, you pretty much have to tap them on with a mallet. Because they're so firm, they won't slide in. They're not going anywhere when you put them on. What you've got to ask yourself is, do I want to spend 350 quid on a helmet for Airsoft? Just for the rails. I'm sure you could probably get the rails from someone else.
I had to change the rails on my FMA because everything just fell off them. Yeah. And it's super annoying. Cool. Has anyone got any more questions? We've just gone over the 90-minute mark, and I'm conscious that my guests have lives to get back to. And I'm getting cold. So last call for questions, and then we'll call it a night. So let me do the quick. Thanks, guys, as ever, for turning up. I think we probably need to play some Airsoft soon because we're kind of running out of stuff to talk about. But we're going to do that as soon as we can. Sandline 2020.
Yeah.
Thanks again for all the everyone in the audience. That's the word. I've had too many.
It is your birthday, isn't it?
It is my birthday. It's my birthday. I've had some beers. So I'm starting to lose words. Again, another reason to finish the stream soon. Always good. I love doing these, particularly at this kind of time when I can't see these guys in the pub. This really has been lovely on my birthday to see my buddies and have a chat and a beer, and all you guys as well. Thanks so much for turning up and having birthday drinks with you. Let's just finish off these last few questions.
System as
no
PTW one.
No experience whatsoever.
No, I remember them coming out and thinking they seemed a bit Emperor's New Clothes, and the fact that no one's using them very much anymore seems to back that up.
We're talking about the PTW.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a bit of a cutout. PTWs went the way of the Dodo as soon as a MOSFET for less than 100 quid that could be fit into anything came out. The real steel dimensions thing really didn't cut the mustard after that for the price that they charge. You start talking about reliability, and from my experience, I've seen they're about on par with a gas blowback gun when it comes to venting magazines and things. If you can find one for a cheap price and you're willing to perhaps throw a bit of money at it for a service, go for it. Other than that, they kind of just got left in the shadows as technology moved on and electronics and stuff became more widely available.
I think that was my impression too, Ben. Like, there were real triggers brooms, weren't they? Because people go, "Oh, my PTW is brilliant, but I've spent £1,000 on bits to the inside of it." So it's not actually that brilliant, then, is it?
Sounds like Marui's.
Well, my Marui's good. I don't put anything in. It's fine.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a question about the nozzle on the CM098. I don't know. I believe it's a G36. Someone's probably answered that. Yeah. Brilliant. I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, Gadge and Ben. Thank you to the audience. Always good. I shall end the stream there and hope this car alarm will shut up at some point. As ever, stay safe and we'll see you soon.